This is chapter 35, section 1. And we're going to start to explore the human body from here on out. This is unit 10 within the book. And we're going to just go by system and learn and investigate the different systems within the human body, understand how the human body is organized, and describe the different parts and how they work, so we can have a better understanding of how we function on a day-to-day basis. The first system that we're going to talk about is the nervous system. And the nervous system is one of the most complex systems that we have in our bodies. It is one of the most mysterious systems we have in our bodies, and one of the most important systems that we have in our body, literally contributing to all functions within our body. So the nervous system is just an incredible system, very important to study. But there's some great mysteries with the nervous system. Even today, as we have great advancements in science, there's things like how are memories stored, and how are certain neurological disorders form and are maintained, and also how can we get rid of certain neurological disorders. How do people lose their memories when they get older or during a traumatic event? Different things like this. These are somewhat a mystery to us as scientists. And so the human nervous system is quite interesting in that sense. The human nervous system as well is just what makes us unique as organisms on Earth, living organisms on Earth. It gives us incredible ability to reason and feel and make judgments and different things like this, and we'll talk more about this. But this is why we are, although we are still animals, we are to a different degree. So it's not a matter of kind, but degree. And so here we go, and we'll first start with important vocabulary. So here's your important vocabulary. Here's the key concepts. And so we're going to start with just describing how the body is organized. And so the body is organized from sort of simpler things, and then it goes up in complexity. And so we start with cells, and although cells are quite complex, we increase in complexity with making tissues and organs and organ systems. We'll describe each one of these. And so we go from sort of simple to more complex as we go this direction. And so that's sort of how the body is organized, and so we'll describe this to you as we go along. And so this is a great diagram to sort of focus in on, and it goes from very small to much larger, pretty simple to much more complex and inclusive of many different things. And so we start with atoms, and we described atoms in chapter 2. A bunch of atoms make amino acids, which make molecules of DNA. These DNA can then be read and create parts for a cell and cause the cell to function. And then a bunch of these cells that are similar, that have we'll describe it, but they have a similar function, and then that makes up a tissue. And then many tissues, as you see here, so this is smooth muscle tissue, you see many tissues right here. I guess I could use my pointer, and that's going to make up an organ, right? Urinary bladder. And then a bunch of organs, so kidney, ureter, urinary bladder, these things are going to then make up an organ system. This is called the urinary system. And then a bunch of organ systems are going to make up us as an organism, or any multicellular organism for that fact. Here's a human organ system. So in figure 35-2, I suggest that you take a look at that. That's on page 892, 893. It shows you the 11 organ systems. And so the nervous system, which we're going to describe this chapter, integumentary system, which is your skin, hair, nails, respiratory system, which is going to be how you breathe, which is your nose and your trachea and your lungs, etc. Digestive system, which I'm sure you're familiar with, your stomach, your intestines and such, for digesting food. Excretory system, for getting rid of that waste. And your skeletal system, which is your bones, your muscular system, which is your muscles, the circulatory system, which is your blood vessels and heart, the endocrine system, which is going to include many different organs that are involved with hormones and development and growth, reproductive system, which is going to be male and female reproductive parts that is going to enable us as an organism to reproduce, and then lymphatic system, which is essentially our immune system, which includes lymph vessels and lymph nodes and such. So a cell is, we learned this in one of the beginning chapters, a cell is the basic unit of structure and function in living things. Okay, so it's the most basic unit. And so that's what we have here, just our basic cell with all the different parts that we learned earlier, I think in chapter 5 or 6, I don't remember. And then we have specialized cells. So now we're going to up it to where we have specialized cells, and these are uniquely suited to perform a particular function. And we have many different types of specialized cells within the body. This is one that we're going to be talking about this chapter. This is a neuron, and it has a specific function of communicating between cells and such. So we'll talk more about that specialized cell. These are the 4 main tissue types. We talked about these last time: epithelial, connective, nervous, and muscular. And so now this was from last chapter, and so this should be easy to memorize. But and as well, the definition of tissue, it's a group of cells that perform a single function. And so we're increasing in complexity here. And so here's just a picture of the different types of tissue. I wanted to put that on real quick. Then we have organ. An organ is a group of different types of tissue. So if we go back here, it would include connective tissue, it would include epithelial tissue, it would include nervous tissue, it would include potentially muscle tissue. And so an organ is a group of different types of tissue that work together to perform a single function. And so right here, what you have here in this doctor's hand is a kidney, and so here's the kidney and the ureter, and you're going to have, excuse me, you're going to have all sorts of different types of tissue within this one structure, the organ called the kidney. And so that's with any organ, it's many different types of tissues that work together for a specific function. So kidney's going to be purifying the blood or getting any waste products out and then excreting them. Organ system is a group of organs that perform a closely related function. And so what we have over here is the digestive system. And so you can see here's a group of organs, right? And they perform closely related functions. So they're all sort of helping out in a particular function. And so all these organs you see here, even the mouth, the tongue, the esophagus, the stomach, the intestines, the pancreas, the liver, the gallbladder, all these things aid in digestion. And so we call this whole thing an organ system, all the organs that are included in here. Next, we need to mention homeostasis. And we talked about homeostasis one of the beginning chapters. And this is a process that keeps internal conditions relatively constant. That's very important, despite any external changes in the environment. And so an example is the maintenance of a stable body temperature. So if you go outside and it's really hot out, well, your body's going to maintain a relatively constant internal condition. If you go back inside and it's freezing in class, the same thing. Your body's going to maintain this relatively constant internal condition. So that's called homeostasis. It's a very, very important process. And it does different things in order to maintain that body temperature, right? It's going to do things like shiver, or it's going to take blood vessels and sort of constrict them so the blood goes more towards the center of the body, different things like that. Here's a few questions. And I want to remind you to make sure to take notes in this section and write down any questions that you may have so we can discuss them in class. That is section, oops, I guess I spelled this one wrong, it's organisms. This is section 1